Good morning. My name is Ishan Nadaf, and this is my discovery research essay on the topic of the Electoral College. Let me give you some background. The Electoral College, if you're not familiar, is a voting system utilized in the United States since the 18th century, when the Founding Fathers created it to help equally distribute voting power to the minority states. Now, if you look at this image on the right from Britannica.com, you can see that it says 270 votes of the total 538 electoral votes are required to elect the president and vice president. And the map also shows each state and how many electoral votes they have. The biggest states with the most population will have more electoral votes. Now, a big glaring flaw that I want to address with my research is the two-party system. What this essentially, the two-party system does for the Electoral College is it guarantees some states are guaranteed to vote one party over the other, which unfairly distributes the votes of the voters in those states. The first source that I thought would be helpful in addressing this would be Robert A. Brown and Brian Murtaugh's Guardian article titled "It's Time to Reform or Ditch the Electoral College." What they essentially found was that the Electoral College was made to protect the minority, as I discussed before with the Founding Fathers. But now it does the opposite because it gives more power to the minority states over the large populous states, even though they may have more votes. Now, they also agreed that completely abolishing the Electoral College is irrational and likely won't happen due to the amendments it would require and the agreement in the government legislature. They found that the main issue is gerrymandering. They said that if they want to fix the Electoral College and make sure everyone's vote is distributed properly, gerrymandering would have to be removed and an independent third party would need to be drawing the district state lines, which is also unreasonable. So that brings me to my second source. Thomas H. Neal's The Electoral College, Options for Change and 117th Congress Proposals. Now, this is a neutral fact-based source from the government, and it highlights previous reform attempts, ones that haven't worked, because the Electoral College is still how it was since it was adopted. And it also explores four possible reforms, none of which have been tried and tested, which makes it really hard for it to be implemented in the real world. Next is source 3, John Samples in defense of the Electoral College. It's important to look at all various perspectives of the issue and not only sources that think the Electoral College is a bad thing. So, for example, the Electoral College ensures that states remain central to the federal election, and it also forces candidates to be diverse. In a popular vote scenario, candidates would go to the most populous states where the most dense urban population is and advocate there because the rural areas don't have that much power and they wouldn't be wasting their resources in those locations. Another issue with popular vote is that it could lead to recounts and disputes, as we've seen with the 2000 election Bush versus Al Gore. And this was from the Cato Institute. So this all brings me to my research question that I want to answer. How does public understanding of the Electoral College influence support for its replacement or reform? So all these sources, it's proved that the Electoral College has been well researched and there are alternatives that haven't been tried and tested, and there's also positives of the Electoral College. But a common factor is that the public's understanding of the Electoral College is not what it should be. Most people don't know how it works to the fullest extent. And if they did, it could influence the support for its replacement or reform, or it could influence that the Electoral College should be kept, which is what I want to research. Now, this is my works cited, and I also want to speak on the exigence, the reason for why I want to answer this question. So, obviously, the President of the United States is a very powerful position, and making sure that the voting system is fair and absolute ensures the best for the country and for everyone who will be impacted by it. Thank you.